The music industry has had a similar way of releasing music for around 70 years, since the 1950s. Now, that's not to say that music distribution hasn't changed. Obviously, we've gone from a physical format to a digital format, but the strategy behind putting music out and promoting it hasn't really changed much decade upon decade. That is, until now, because the labels are in for a big shock. As the likes of TikTok and Instagram and other social media platforms grow, there is a huge problem underlying the way the big labels are putting music out, which means if you are trying to put music out traditionally like a record label, and like we have decade upon decade since the 1950s, you are in for a big problem. Because the traditional ways of releasing music are now meaning you are wasting so much time, so much effort, so much money, and so many opportunities. So if you are an artist, you need to watch this video. But if you're a label, then you really need to watch this video. Now, there's one word that labels fear, and that is subjectivity. They spot an artist, they see something in that artist, and they think, this is gonna go. The problem is, does everyone else see what they're seeing? Many people, musicians and artists, still believe that if you throw enough money at the marketing of an artist, you can break them through, which is quite simply bullshit. I've heard it so many times. If I had $1 million, then I'd be a successful artist. And for 99% of those artists who say that, it just simply isn't true. Now, that's like saying go to Vegas and bet enough money, and eventually, if you gamble enough money, you will win big. Now, that takes balls of steel or someone else's money, because if you carry on losing time and time again and say, no, I'm going to keep on funding this, at some point, you're probably more likely to quit gambling than you are to win big. If you look at major labels, they do not shy away from splashing the cash. It's been reported that it costs over $1 million to get an artist to #1, and I say that number is rising sharply. If you break down the cost of what a major label will spend on trying to break an artist, you'll see a colossal amount of money. For example, you have to have a video. So your video shoot might be 20 grand, 30 grand. I mean, you could spend 200 grand, but let's say, for argument's sake, breaking a new artist, maybe 20 grand for a video. Then you've got your radio tour. Now, your radio tour might be $15,000 a week. You might be out there for 9 weeks, so you could easily spend 200, 300 grand on a radio tour. Then there's support slots, because we want to get you out in front of people doing what you do best, which is perform live. But that support slot could cost you 10 grand. It could cost you $1 million. Then you've got your ads, because you need to get the music out to people. Now, if this is digital advertising, you might be spending 10 grand, 20, $30,000. What happens if you're advertising on TV? All of a sudden, this might be hundreds of thousands of dollars on trying to promote that artist. And the costs don't stop there. You've got press, marketing, events, PR, playlists. And here's the problem, because money doesn't buy you success. After all that attention doesn't necessarily mean that people will like you. It doesn't necessarily mean that people will like your song. But they are seeing you, but they can swipe straight past. So whilst the labels are trying to get attention, they know they've got a huge problem, which is their cash flow. The money out versus the money in. Now, major labels are beasts of tradition, so they'll throw as much against the wall to see what sticks. And they'll do that with multiple artists, trying to get 1 or 2 or 3 to be a household name. And if they do that, then they'll make enough money off that 1 or 2 artists that will pay for all of the rest of the A&R and releases put together. However, traditionally, whilst this works, it is highly inefficient. If you think about it, a record label by its very nature is hugely inefficient. Let's take an example of a radio tour. So I'm in Nashville. Now, if you're a country artist trying to make it, you have to do your radio tour, and you have to do it very well and successfully. Now, let's say it's costing you $15,000 a week, or maybe $20,000 a week. Let's say this is going to cost you $200,000, maybe $300,000 to the label. So you go out, you do your 3 months, and every single day you're going to new radio stations. The thing is, you're not going on the radio. You're just doing a private gig to 2, 3, or 4 people who are from that radio station. This is pretty much a presentation and a meet and greet for the program director, for the music supervisor, and for a couple of the high and mighties of this radio station, who basically become Julius Caesar to decide whether they will or won't promote your new single. So just think about that for a minute. You could go and pay 300 grand to go and do a radio tour for 3 months in front of a bunch of snooty radio people who don't like you, that potentially could mean that you get 0 attention. And that shows the problem. It's about getting attention. Everyone knows that. The problem is, it's about getting the right attention and what you do with that attention. Now, you have a similar problem if there's a tour support. So let's say, for example, you buy onto a tour and it costs you $20,000. Great, you're guaranteed to get in front of a bunch of people. But are they the right people? Will they pay attention? Will they care? Will they remember you? Now, last night I went out to go and see a gig and there was a tour support. Couldn't tell you what they were called. Couldn't give a shit. But then I didn't think they were very good. But if they were very good, maybe then I would go and find them on socials. Maybe then I would go and listen to some songs on Spotify. But it's not about getting in front of people. It's about what you do when you're in front of people. Now, here's the bit where the labels are so out of date with their traditional strategies on promoting. The labels are promoting the song. And the label should be saying, no, I'm using the song to promote the artist. Now, there is a subtle, very subtle, but huge difference. And the reason for that is because of inefficiency. So let me give you an example. I live in Nashville and I live right across the road from the Gibson factory. And the Gibson factory every so often will put on these intimate gigs and they'll bring artists down to play. And you can just buy a ticket and go in. You're talking about 30 to 50 people. Now, 3 times I've gone into the Gibson factory and I've sat there and I'm looking around at Gibson. I'm like, this is really, really good. And I watch an artist and think that was great. And then I leave. And they've done all of that work for 30 to 50 people. Now think about that, because I can pretty much put a blank, I can put my thumb over the camera of my iPhone, I can fart on camera, I can put that on TikTok, and I'll probably get 300 views. Guys, quick interruption. You're clearly releasing music and serious about getting results. So have you checked out DK Music Business Academy? It's got over 50 hours worth of courses, including the Roadmap to 1 Million Streams course. On top of that, you've got live sessions with me every single week and a community of like-minded musicians from all over the world. And as well as that, there's even my playlisting tool, Sonar, where you can get in touch with playlist curators when you're releasing music. What have you got to lose? 7-day free trial, links in the description. Let's crack on with the video. So this is where labels and artists have to change the way that they think, because the investment isn't the song. That's the asset. The asset is the song. The investment, well, that's the opportunities that you can get from what the song can do. So therefore, if you're using the song to promote the artist, now there are a million ways to promote what you just did, the surroundings of what you did. Subtle difference, but instead of saying, everyone, here's my song, you're saying, everyone, here's me performing my song. And because of that, now I have 1,000 ways that I can start getting millions of people to buy into me and what I do. So let's go back to that radio tour, which costs you a couple of $100,000. You're on the radio tour, you're playing in front of 2 or 3 people from that radio station. No. I'm using the couple of $100,000 that it's cost me to get out there and tell stories to millions of people all across social media. I'm not focusing on 2 people, although I am actually working that crowd when I'm in front of them. What I'm actually doing is I'm going out there and I'm using this to get in front of thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people every single day. But here is the big problem, and I have seen this so many times. The labels are saying this is down to the artist. The artist needs to do their own social media. And the artist is saying, no, I'm busy. I'm actually performing the gig. I'm networking. I'm working the crowd. This is the label. The label needs to be doing the social media. And what happens? Nobody does it. Nobody does this, and then millions of dollars are left on the table. Now, what if the labels thought in a different way? What if the label said, well, this is costing me $1 million to break this artist, so why don't I spend $1 million and $3,000 to buy a really nice camera setup to give to the tour manager or the assistant or somebody to say, your job is to take loads of footage. Or one step more than that, we're spending $1 million on trying to break this artist, so why don't we spend $1,030,000 and hire someone for a couple of months to go around and shoot all of the footage. Now, interestingly enough, I saw this happen the other day. I went to the Ryman, which is a big gig in Nashville. I went to see an artist who absolutely was amazing, totally blew me away. And I saw cameras everywhere. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. He's filming the gig. This is brilliant. 2 weeks later, I have been on his social media a number of times. What have I seen? I have seen 2 pieces of content from that gig, which was basically a carousel of a couple of pictures and one very small 5 to 10 second clip of him performing live there. That was it. The second piece of content was him on the bus talking to his phone, telling everyone thanks for playing the Ryman and thanks for coming down, thanks for buying tickets. And I was like, are you mental? Like, You're videoing the entire show. Why are you not doing before the show? Why are you not doing during the show? Why are you not doing after the show? Why is this not 100 pieces of content which is going out on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram stories, on Twitter? This can go everywhere. And what you've done is you've just put 2 really crappy, really small pieces on Instagram feed. Instagram feed of all places. The one place that we know that is absolutely not going to get in front of anywhere near as many of the people within your audience, let alone out of your audience. Now, before I made this video, I just went on his socials to check how those videos did. One of them got 40,000 views. In my head, I'm thinking, you've just left 1 million views on the table. 1 million views because you just thought, oh, I videoed the concert. I might as well stick a couple of seconds of it on Instagram. Not on TikTok, not on YouTube, not before, not after, just 10 seconds of that video. Now let's just think of numbers, because I know everyone's obsessed with numbers. The Ryman holds 2,000-ish people. But if he goes and puts 20 or 30 pieces of content across 3 or 4 platforms, and he could get between 1 million and 10 million views outside of the people in the Ryman. What you've done there is you've just taken an opportunity and you've thrown it in the bin and gone, nah. Are you fucking kidding me? That is crazy. And who's responsible? The labels. Because the artists aren't going to do it. Because the artists are busy. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, hang on a minute. I'm not signed to a major label. So what does this affect me? Because it does. Because it's the same thing. Because you guys are still going to get on your BBC introducing. You're still going to get on college radio. You're still going to be asked to go and do that gig. And so when you just film the gig, you are leaving stuff on the table. When you don't film anything, you're leaving stuff on the table. You have to think in a new way. You have to start thinking like this. The song is an opportunity for me to go and do things. The doing things is the opportunity for me to go and make content around that and put that out. So therefore, the song allows me to play gigs, or the song allows me to go on radio, but then the radio and the gig allows me to make content which then will go out to many more people. So this way, you're not saying I'm getting in front of 25 people. You're saying, no, I'm potentially getting in front of 10 million people if I can do this well enough. I know this is such a tiny detail, but it frustrates me so much when I see all artists who are using the song as the hero and saying, everyone, here's my song, instead of saying, no, the song's here to promote me. And if I can do that, then I can make this into social media and I can get new fans. And if I can get new fans, I can get new opportunities. And from that's how you get momentum. That's how it escalates. And that is why labels really need to change their tune, because at the moment they are leaving too much on the table. And there is a gap which used to be A&R and release. And now it's not. It's A&R and social media and release. And the gap is widening and everyone is blaming everyone else. The A&R's going, well, it's the artist. The artist's going, well, it's not my job. It's the release. And the release is going, I don't know, it's probably the A&R. And at which point, everyone's losing. Now, the reason why this is so important is because new figures have come out to say 100,000 songs are being released every single day. 100,000 every single day. And people are going, oh, it's too noisy. No. It's not about being too noisy. It's about having the right strategy. It's about doing the right things. But if the labels can't do it right, what hope is there for the rest of us? So if there's one takeaway from this video, it's this. The song is there to promote you. And then those opportunities are there to get out on social media, not in front of the 25 people you're playing in front of, but to the millions of people that potentially could see it on social media. So guys, sorry, a bit of a rant, but I think it's a really important one. So do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, come and be a part of this community. Otherwise, I'll catch you again soon.